It's showtime, folks. Welcome in. Chasing Big Joe, 1025, 1063, the game on this Friday. We made it to the end of the week. I know that is exciting. Chase McCabe, Big Joe Dubin he will join us in just a second from the Omni Nashville Hotel. I am from the Palatial Home Studios today, feeling a little under the weather and didn't want to risk getting these guys sick, but I'm powering through. And Dr. Crane, of course, is at the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios. Hello, Dr. Crane. How are you?
Hello, sir. Good morning. It's Friday. We can forget about everything Monday through Thursday.
I know that is certainly a positive, but and there might be some Titans that want to forget about their joint practices with Seattle, but we'll get to that here in just a minute. But got a big show planned today. Really excited. Going to hit a lot of different things on today's program, including former Titan Michael Orr going to join us at 9:30. He's got his foundation. They're doing a 5K this weekend in our city, so we'll tell you more about that and catch up with Michael Orr. The PBR is also in town for their Stampede Days at Bridgestone Arena, so Justin McBride and Cody Teal will join us at 10 o'clock. They'll actually be with Joe down at the Omni, and then, of course, our weekly conversation with forever Titans wide receiver Chris Sanders coming up at 10:30. So really looking forward to that. The joint practices over the course of the last few days, I've kind of been reading everybody's thoughts on that. Obviously, we were out there, and where we were broadcasting from, it was kind of hard to really see a whole lot. But what we did see, I think there was some good, there was some bad. I certainly some things that Brian Callahan can take away and can work on. He did say that none of the starters will play in the preseason game, that they got what they needed out of the joint practices. So that was kind of expected, but he made it, he confirmed it and made it official. And so none of the starters will play coming up tomorrow night at Nissan Stadium. Not, I kind of feel like that's where it's gone with the preseason. And so, I think what you'll do, I was watching some of the Philadelphia and New England game last night. It was kind of a mixed bag, but most of the time that's kind of what you're going to see is the starters not play. But there was something that stood out to me after the practice sessions from the last couple of days, and it really started, I guess, Wednesday after that practice session. Calvin Ridley spoke to the media, and he said it wasn't a good day. Here's why.
The team 27, you hooked up a few times. It seemed like
not that good today. Could be a little better, man. Just finishing the route, just it could be better.
what happened? Talk us through the two deep balls. It looked like you were twisted up on both.
Yeah, I got past the guy, but I'm like, I don't know. My energy, man, it wasn't there a little bit. I just wasn't finishing it, like running hard enough, and then the ball was come out, and then I'm like, damn, it's out there. So, but I just gotta run full speed the whole time.
Does there need to be a point where you and Will officially have it down?
And it's not. We got it down, man. We got it down. We just gotta run. We got it down. I promise. I know you've talked
in the past about having.
So that was Calvin Ridley. Wednesday, I believe that was. Excuse me. Having to power through today, Dr. Crane.
That's all right. Hey, we're all there. It's Friday. You're able to kind of, reorganize yourself a little bit. So, but yeah, you're right about Calvin Ridley. It just something about it. And we also had some comments yesterday as well, right, Chase?
Yeah, everybody had their thoughts on this. And here are my thoughts. Thank you for helping me there. I don't like that a guy is not running full speed, but at least he admitted it. I mean, that's kind of what stood out to me. It's like, okay, he could have very easily made up an excuse or something like that. He didn't. He kind of owned it up. But I know on the midday show, D-Mace was not very happy about it. Here was his comments.
So, Coach said, it's hot. It's hot, Coach. It's hot. It's hot out there. It's hot as fish grease out here, Coach. Okay, let's fast forward this thing. Let's fast forward it, all right? September, hot, Sunday, 12 o'clock, blazing out there, as it does over there at the Nissan Stadium, 100 on the field. You going 3 quarters, 3 strong quarters. We getting that 4th quarter, 2 minutes left in the game. We're down 5 points. and it's man-to-man outside. And Will Levis, boy, he's licking his chops because he's looking at one side, and he has Ridley. He's looking at the other side. He has D-Hop or Traylon Burks, or all four of them, Burks, D-Hop, Boyd, all of them. He's looking at, oh, y'all want to play man-to-man? Woo, woo. I love this. Take the snap. I look to the left. D-Hop gets jammed up just a tad bit. I look to the right. Tyler Boyd falls down. I look again to the right. Calvin Ridley. Oh, yeah, baby. Here we go. Bam! Release that thing. 80 yards in the air. Everybody's watching. Woo, woo. Touchdown, baby. Nope. No, it's not. It is a lone foul ball. And then Calvin Ridley come back in an interview and say, man, yeah, you know, it's hot out there. Just didn't have the energy, man. Didn't run hard. And then the head coach get on there and say, well, it was hot outside. That's why he ain't run. Man, I want to hear that damn stuff. I want to hear that. That's what's going to happen in the game, man. It's going to be hot. Guys are going to be leaning on you. They're going to be pushing and grabbing you. But you are our number one receiver, okay? You're our number one receiver. We just paid you handsomely, and you deserved to get paid. I'm not saying that you didn't, because you did. But then on that one fateful play in September, when it's 100 degrees on the field, you don't run hard because you tired and it's hot. If you get on the podium, Brian Callahan, and say, it was hot out there, that's why he didn't run hard, and I'm good with that, then you don't need to be a head coach. That is not acceptable, because what he will do in practice, he will do in the game.
That was Derek Mason, his comments from yesterday's show. And look, you've been around D-Mace long enough now, Nick, to know when he gets fired up, he gets passionate about something, he brings it. He definitely brought it there. It is a concern. I mean, I get it. It's training camp. I get it that it's hot. But you got to not have that happen, right?
Absolutely. I mean, and D-Mace even reiterated it, I believe, in the second segment of the second hour about Nick Saban. Like he said, I know who, Calvin Ridley was coached under. I know Nick Saban from left and right. This guy would not put up with that during practice.
Yeah. So
what makes him think that he could do that now? And so when D-Mace said that, it struck a chord with me, because I kind of come from that same tree. I know I'm a mid-20s, but I come from that same tree of you practice how you play. Right. And if you don't do that, then you're not going to be, top notch. And there was another clip that I believe was played, I want to say earlier in the week, Mike DeRocco of the ESPN, talking about Jacksonville Jaguars time with, Calvin Ridley. And I was something I paid attention to yesterday when they played it on the midday show, was that, Calvin Ridley's not fully there. He wasn't all there, but yet he still had 1,000 yards. And so that kind of I was like, wait a minute. So if he's not fully there, what I want to know what it's like when he is there, when he is fully locked in. Because if and when he is fully locked in and he has a solid quarterback like Will Levis and the offense is clicking, this guy could be 1,500-yard receiver easily.
Right. 100%. And I mean, I feel like he's committed. I feel like he wants to be here. Obviously he signed the deal, but it's certainly, and again, it's practice. It's August. I'm not ready to, I know D-Mace has concerns about the actual game. I'm not ready to go there yet. But the fact that he's saying, and you got the coach kind of saying, oh, it's hot, guys were, struggling all that. I mean, that's a little bit of a concern. This was Brian Callahan from yesterday on Ridley's comments.
Calvin said yesterday he did not run hard through the two deep balls. I know Will kind of took the blame on the one throw. That's a bit concerning that a big ticket free agent who's supposed to be setting the tone is not running hard.
No, not really. It wasn't. I wouldn't credit it to not running hard. It just reminds me a little bit. When Jamar Chase came in as a rookie in Cincinnati, there was a bunch of hoopla about how he forgot how to catch a football, and we couldn't hit him deep, and we couldn't connect, and he can't catch. And I think the same thing happened to Jerry Rice too, if I'm not mistaken. But some of these training camp ups and downs get a little bit magnified. I'm not overly concerned about the process. I think we're in the right place. Sure, I would like to hit one or two of them, but those things come, and I don't really overreact to that at all. I think yesterday was hot. Those guys' legs were dead. They're dead today. We cut practice pretty significantly because of it. So I would just say we're just continuing on as usual.
And my question is, and we're going to bring this up with Chris Sanders, that legs are dead, all of that. And, you heard D Mace get passionate about it in his comments. But, okay, that's true. That's fair. But are your legs going to be dead in September when it's just as hot? That's the concern for me. And I get it. Game energy and practice energy are two different things. But the fact that are we happy everybody's being so open about it, or is it concerning? I guess that's the big way to look at it. 615-737-1025. That's our phone and text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Are you concerned about Calvin Ridley not running full speed? 615-737-1025. We are live today. Dr. Crane is at the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Big Joe will join, and we'll have much more coming here on the Chasing Big Joe Show, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
It's easy to sum it up when you just talk about practice. We sitting here, I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice. I mean, listen, we're talking about practice. Not a game, not a game, not a game. We're talking about practice.
Oh, that is fantastic. I was wondering if we were going to bust that out. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3, the game here on this Friday. As we are talking about practice. We're talking about Calvin Ridley and saying that he didn't run hard on some plays. And then Brian Callahan saying that, well, you know, it's not a big concern right now. We cut practice short today. Guys just didn't have their legs. Well, okay, maybe that's the case. But does it give you a concern when you get into the games, you know, early in the year and it's hot and guys not having their legs? That kind of raises some red flags to me. 615-737-1025. You can call or text. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Sean in Dixon says, you just said, want to know how Ridley will be with a solid quarterback. Know that he has one in Levis. Well, still don't have a solid quarterback, so probably won't see much difference in Ridley. How do you know that Levis isn't a solid quarterback? Do you really know that answer yet? I don't think you do. Let's see. Wes in Clarksville says someone on the show yesterday was saying Ridley dropped a TD pass against us last year in a game. That game helped decide the playoffs. So did Ridley give his all there, or was he just tired? See, now this is what happens when things like this comes out. Now everybody is going to just try and, you know, nitpick. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, they're going to look at everything, Nick, right?
Yeah. That was something that D Mace brought up, and I was talking to him about it off the air. This is probably about 3 weeks back, about just how they would be able to use Calvin Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins as a 1-2 tandem. You kind of utilize, Calvin Ridley from, let's say, from red zone to red zone, and then in the red zone, you utilize DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, because of all the touchdown drops that Calvin Ridley had last season with the Jaguars. That's kind of been the possible equation, the solution to this equation is with, DeAndre Hopkins and Calvin Ridley, is use Calvin Ridley from red zone to red zone and then use DeAndre Hopkins in the red zone, because points in this league are valuable, extremely valuable. And if you can't capitalize on your opportunities, then you're missing out on a solid, maybe 10-win season as a ceiling for this team.
Yes, indeed. 615-737-1025. So D-Mace was also kind of upset with how Brian Callahan took it yesterday. So here was his comments.
For Brian Callahan to say, oh, that wasn't a big deal because Jamar Chase, catching a football and effort is two damn different things, okay? They are two different things. You know damn well that Jamar Chase could catch the football. He was just having what rookies have, just one of those days or those camps where he's just getting adjusted to everything. But he can catch the football. But when a guy says he wasn't running hard, he didn't give effort, you should have a problem with that, head coach. You shouldn't dismiss it. I understand you don't want to ruffle any feathers or anything like that. I get that part. But again, to get on here and say, oh, that wasn't a big deal. Well, it was a big deal.
It was a big deal. I mean, the fact that the comments were made it the big deal, and that's why we're sitting here talking about it. But my question to all of you as fans, is it enough to make you concerned for the rest of the season, for the regular season? 615-737-1025. That's my question. I mean, I don't even think I'm concerned. I think it's maybe something not to completely ignore and to pay attention to, but I feel like a professional athlete, once they get into the actual games, they're going to have a different level and they're going to turn it on. That's what I think.
Yeah, it's about the practice management for sure. But the thing I'm curious about is, was this a reoccurring thing in Jacksonville or in Atlanta?
Right.
Was this a reoccurring thing with Calvin Ridley there? Because if it was, then maybe that's just how he computes. That's how he's able to function when it comes to practice. But like that's just not a good practice etiquette. Like I mentioned earlier with D Mace mentioned about Nick Saban like that. Obviously, players under Nick Saban more than likely won't practice like that on a regular basis. But if he's held to a different standard, that's just not a team player.
All right, I believe Big Joe is with us now. JoJo, what's up? Maybe.
I don't believe so.
Okay. Well, we'll get him in just a second. And see. Other things from yesterday at Titans practice, and again, continue to weigh in on this. We saw some guys cramp up. There was question about guys going off the field early, but I think everything was okay. It looks like Malik Willis will be the starter Saturday night in the preseason game. Callahan said he doesn't expect the team starters to play after getting so much work over the past 2 days, but I do find it interesting that he's going to put Malik Willis in as the starter. I mean, Willis has had a good camp. We know that. So maybe that's just kind of a reward for that. Will Levis, though, did not have a great day. Threw a pair of interceptions, including the very first play of the 2-minute drill, which that concerned me a little bit because that was it. They had this whole plan to, practice the 2-minute drill, and that got taken away because the first play was a pick from Devin Witherspoon. So he jumped right in front of Mason Kinsey to make the pick. But Levis was also picked off in 7-on-7 red zone. He was 6 of 13 for the day with 2 picks, according to Jim Wyatt. In the 2 practices, Wyatt has Levis at 21 of 35, 2 picks in the 7-on-7 and team periods combined. In the team's first 11 practices, he's 131 of 190 with 7 picks and in the 7-on-7 and team periods combined. So that is a concern. I get it for sure. But, as we've talked about, excuse me, as we've talked about, in training camp and practice, you're going to try things that maybe you wouldn't in the regular game, and so hopefully that is what it is. Chance Campbell was able to step in front of Sam Howell and pick it off as well. Chance Campbell has had a really nice practice. Here's what I was getting to. Traylon Burks left early on Wednesday with cramping, but he looked fine on Thursday. Caught a pass from Levis on the opening play of team periods and looked really good. So that was positive to see with Traylon Burks. So, Burks continues to get his opportunities with DeAndre Hopkins being out, and I think all eyes are on him and what he can become. That's what we're waiting to see. And, he's looked good one-on-one. And, I mean, the thing is, we always talk about Traylon Burks having a good training camp and being kind of the all-star of training camp and then can't stay healthy or something. It doesn't translate in the regular season. So, but that's kind of where we're at when it comes to training camp. So we are efforting to get Big Joe here on the show. I know it's been a little bit of a crazy morning when it comes to our show, but Joe is going to join us momentarily. But I'm really excited about what's happening this weekend. Michael Orr, of course, you remember him from The Blind Side, and he played for the Titans as well. His foundation has a 5K that is going to be here, and we're going to tell you more about that. Michael Orr going to join the show. Coming up next, Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3, The Game here on this Friday. As we get ready for the weekend, you know, a really cool thing is happening in our city this weekend. And to talk more about that, we bring in former Titan Michael Orr, who is on the line with us. Michael, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to talk to you. I know you have to be very excited about the 5K that'll be happening tomorrow. Run Towards the Future 5K. It benefits your foundation, the Orr Foundation, starting at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning at Edwin Water Park here in Nashville. Going to be a really cool event.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, it's running toward the future. And what we're focusing in on is education. You know, I believe, you know, you need something tangible that you, as a young person, especially when you're growing up in environments that, you know, don't typically have, you know, that source of a background. So, you know, for me, my idea was, you know, me being an athlete, you know, giving those the opportunity who aren't athletes or entertainers to, you know, provide mentorship, education, and community to them, you know, so they can make way to have a better future. So, you know, I think it's a cool thing we're doing. And, you know, it's also, you know, I had to prepare for it to help me try to, you know, I want to get back in the, you know, decent shape. So to sign off on something running past 10 yards, me being an offensive lineman, was hard to do, but it's for a great cause, and you know we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be cool. Did you just feel like throughout your career that, you know, whenever your playing days were done, that this was something you wanted to focus on? You wanted to focus on giving back?
Yeah, it is. It is. You know, like it's, you know, I sat around and I, you know, thought about it, and you know, a lot of people somewhat know what my story is, but you know, for me, I wanted to leave a legacy where what I thought was important for me. And, you know, for me, that legacy is, you know, giving back to the generations that's coming behind me, to give them the opportunity to let them know that, you know, you can be anything that you want to be. You can be something, you know, greater than, for me, you know, it was an athlete, but I didn't want that to be my legacy, because I know being an athlete, NFL, that wasn't my first choice. My first choice when I started this journey off, I had to go to school on my own. And I had to, you know, do the right thing on a consistent basis. And, you know, I started playing football, basketball, and all that stuff in the 8th grade. But early on, when I started this journey, 3rd, 4th grade, going to school on my own, you know, that was a few years when I didn't have to go to school. Nobody was forcing me. And, you know, I made that decision that, you know, 10, 11 years old, crazy as that might sound, that, hey, I wanted to go to school. I wanted to, you know, sit in class. I wanted to be something different, and just so happened to be an athlete. And, you know, that's what I want young people to understand. You know, most people, they see me and they say, wow, he just came out of nowhere, an athlete. No, it didn't start that way for me. It was education first, and, you know, just doing the right thing and wanting to be something different and not be a statistic was my mindset when I started this thing. So that's what I want to, you know, place in the idea in this youth. And like I said, the generations that are coming up behind me, I want to place those things in their minds so, you know, they can, you know, have a chance and, you know, have a great run toward the future.
We're talking to former NFL player Michael Orr here on the Chasing Big Joe show. Michael, a lot of guys aren't transparent in their personal lives and everything. You got a great story. I got to imagine, Michael, you've heard from so many people in the last 8, 10, 12 years who were inspired by your story. I got to think it's almost every day, isn't it?
You know, that's it's a motivating thing. It's something that, you know, every day. Yeah, you're right. It's crazy that you say that. Someone just stopped me in Publix yesterday and said that, hey, I went to Ole Miss because of you. You know, from a disadvantaged background, socioeconomically challenged, and, you know, to know that, you know, that your story lives on and that you're continuing motivating. You know, I was just at the ballpark, the baseball fields, and I'm on the gate getting ready to watch my son play, and a kid comes up and asks, hey, aren't you Michael Orr? I want to do this. You motivate me to do that. I'm like, wow, you're 10 years old and, you don't know anything about me. But, that's the beauty of the story and just, hard work and the dedication that, that I, put in, and just to see it, that it's giving other people hope that don't necessarily, like I said, have those ideas. That's the thing that I want to do, is continue to spark those ideas, to have young people know that it is possible, but not, you can do anything. I was fortunate enough to be a pretty good athlete, so I was afforded to go to a good private school and have things afforded to me, but not everybody's going to be my size, move the way that I could move. So, my thing is giving everyone an opportunity.
I love it. Michael, on our show, Chase asks all the really good and important questions. I ask all the dumb ones. Here's a dumb one for you. Have you watched the movie?
I watched the movie one time. Yeah, I watched the movie one time. A couple weeks after it came out, I watched it and checked it out. And, it's a really inspiring story. It's great for, motivating someone and showing someone that, hey, you can do something with help as well. So, but, for me, like I said, a lot of people know my story. A lot of people out there is not going to be an athlete. So, for them, for that, that story is great, but I want to open doors for everyone. Is the key for me.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I just, we talk to so many people who, singers who don't listen to their songs, actors who don't watch anything they've ever been. I was just curious because, that was your life story being played out on the screen. And I didn't know if that was like, I don't want to watch it because I lived it, or I've watched it 1,000 times. I was just interested to know, your takeaway.
You're hitting it on the head with that. A lot of people, they might say, hey, he doesn't like, oh, you've been, think I'm upset about certain things. Well, when you spend your childhood struggling on a daily basis, and you've lived such a tough life, and you spend so many years running away from it, trying to, get away from those things, and then, having it told and in your face, and, it brings up, those memories you try to get away from. But, what I've came to understand, those tough memories, that past, that shapes you into who you are now. And, making those days there create happier times now. So, those are the things, you make sacrifices, and you have to start to understand that you go through things so others won't have to go through those tough things. It's kind of like being a coach or playing. I'm coaching my son now. He's fifth, sixth grade football, and you go through those. You have those bad plays on the field, or you struggled, and you're teaching them the technique where this is for you, so you won't have to struggle, so you can go dominate. Or those young people in life, hey, don't do this. Go to school, or study here, so you won't have to go. So you can pass that test or get through those tough life skills, and making it easier for everyone else. So those are the goals in life and in sports when you're trying to give back and reach the young people. You go through things, so it's just like a parent, man. You go through those things so your kids won't have to.
We're talking to Michael Orr, Run Towards the Future 5K race benefiting the Orr Foundation. It's tomorrow at Edwin Warner Park here in Nashville. So, Michael, you talk about your son. You said he's fifth and sixth grade football. He's in there now?
Yeah, he's playing, offensive line, defensive line, and coaching them. And, it's a fun thing. Football is such a great sport. And I recommend, if you don't play any kind of team sport, I recommend it for everyone, because, it's another one of those life lessons. It gives you so much, it makes life easier. And I just enjoy doing it. And, giving back. And obviously I played a little bit of football, and I love technique and fundamentals, man. And, it just it's a beauty of a game.
Does that allow so many former players, they miss it and they try and find that, something to replace that. Is coaching your son and helping your son, with his playing, is that what that is for you in some ways?
Man, I'm in the gym right now. I just told somebody, hey, if you gave it your all, you shouldn't miss it. That's the bottom line on it. Now, the thing about coaching is, it's just like anything else. If you're showing someone a technique or on the field or anything, and they go out and they execute that technique that you showed them, I mean, it definitely gives you that sense of joy, like you're out there, especially this age. I'm fortunate enough to be around a bunch of smart young kids who want to be out there, want to get better, that want to give great effort. So, that's makes your job a lot easier. And, coaching it's basically you're a teacher, and you have to be able to teach at, I don't care what level it is. You have to be able to relate to the players, and you have to know their language. You got to watch cartoons. You got to tell them to run through that gap like Sonic the Hedgehog. You have to be able to communicate. You got to, it's a teacher. I think the greatest coaches that I've seen at every level, those guys are teachers, and they know how to explain things. They know how to break it down, and you can't expect, you have to, every day you have to continue to go over the small things. If you're not, that's what sports is. People get bored, and, if you're not going over the same thing every day, the same thing, it's already hard enough. And I think, people get away with that and they try to reinvent the wheel. But, that's what teaching is, cramming it in there, jamming it in, and making sure those players got it. So I know I went all over the place, but that's, you get excited talking about football now.
Yeah, Mike, I want to ask you, you're one of the few players who have won a Super Bowl and lost a Super Bowl. And I got to think the greater lesson was in losing that Super Bowl. Would I be correct in that?
The greatest lesson was losing that Super Bowl?
Yes.
Oh, man, it's kind of like when I'm talking to people about teams and sports, and the one thing that everybody says after you've lost that last game was, man, that season went by fast. But you never hear it after you won the championship.
Right.
So, most definitely you start to think about what you should have done or what you could have done differently. But it's, football is such a great game, and losing a Super Bowl, man, it's definitely heartbreaking. And you try to go back and, like I said, try to fix things, but you can't get it back, and you try to move on and correct those things. And that's why, when I was playing, I went to 2 Super Bowls. You try to get everybody there because it's such a hard game. You got so many guys that has to come together on one play at a time. And win and execute that. And it's a hard lesson losing those, but it definitely gives you hope. Something to go back and try to fix. But losing those, man, it is tough. I don't even want to think about it now. So
one more question for you from me, Michael. You played for Ed Orgeron at Ole Miss. Did you ever really understand what he was saying?
Man, Coach O. Now he's that's pretty funny. Coach O, man, he's a guy. Now, if he tells you, you're physical, you're one of his guys, you better believe him. He was the toughest guy, toughest coach that I ever been around. It is hard to understand him, but the only thing you need to know is how to be physical around him. That's it.
Michael Oher is with us. Michael, thanks so much for doing this today. I hope everything goes well with Run Towards the Future, your 5K tomorrow, benefiting your foundation at Edwin Warner Park. But really good to catch up with you, and I'm glad everything's going well.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me. Anything I can do, let me know. yeah, 8 o'clock, Edwin Warner Park. Come out and support if you can. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks, Michael.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Michael Orr, of course, played for the Titans and had a nice NFL career, Ole Miss as well, joining us here on the program. Come back, officially bring Joe in and catch up with him. It's Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. All right, it's a beautiful day right now. Could have some weather later. 5pointsroofing.com. That is the website you need to go to because you're going to want to get your roof checked out. It's a good time to do that, whether it was the storms in the spring or some of the pop-ups we've had in the summer. We could have more later. If your property gets damaged, there is a really good chance that your roof got some damage too. 5 Points Roofing can help you. You start it off by going to 5pointsroofing.com, F-I-V-E, pointsroofing.com, and that will get it started for you. They'll come out and do a free inspection and then walk you through the insurance claim process to take that stress off of you. Just go to 5pointsroofing.com to get everything started. They're great people to work with. 5pointsroofing.com. Joe, 102.5, 106.3, The Game, here on this Friday. Joe is at the Omni. I am here at my palatial home studios, not feeling great, under the weather today, so powering through. But Joe, how are you?
I'm good, man. It's glad that you are. See, you're smart. You don't feel good. You're sick. So you stay away from people, which is good. So I'm proud of you. Get better.
Yeah, I didn't want to risk getting anybody sick, and you guys and all that. So I'm just powering through. It's going around right now. So thank you for bearing with me. And I don't sound great. No, I did not party too late last night. I'm just not feeling great. So it's going
That's all
around.
right. Okay. Because I'm telling you, if you would have gotten Dr. Crane sick and as valuable and as adorable as he is, I would have been mad. So thank you.
I'm reading our text line, and I feel
Yep.
like that somebody's texting us and is like listening to an old show. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, that was really cool stuff with Michael Orr. I mean, we all know his story, but now to kind of hear him at this point in his life, with his son and coaching his son and giving back, it's really cool.
It is. He had a nice career. He was here for a cup of coffee, won a Super Bowl with the Ravens, lost one with the Panthers. That's why he went to the high and the low of the National Football League. On top, winning the Super Bowl, losing a Super Bowl, and the lessons you get out of losing something like that, can inspire you and make you feel good. We've talked to coaches all the time, and I think Greg Pogue said this one time was great. His father was a basketball coach, and he said he probably can only tell you about a couple of wins, but he can tell you about every single loss. And that means so much thinking about that. That's, you get to the pinnacle, you win it, but then you get back there and you lose it. And, the lessons of never giving up and the highs and the lows. I just think that's cool because not many people, Chase, have been on both sides of that.
Yeah.
Have won it and lost, and he's one of the few.
Well, and I've always heard people tell me that I think this goes without saying, you learn more from your failures than you do from your successes. Your successes are great, but
Right.
that means you've done it right. Your failures, you learn what you could do differently and learn more about yourself. And how many times have we seen teams go and they lose the championship, and then the next year or a couple of years later they win it because they kind of learn those lessons from not being able to get it done.
No, exactly that. And you look at things, I'm not I can't stand baseball, but I always love this baseball stat. One of my favorite players ever was Rod Carew, who had a career batting average of like 320, 330, which means that 2/3 of the time, Rod Carew did not get a hit. He did not get a hit and get on base. And so it's just crazy to think about failures and success. And we apply baseball to that. You do what you can when you have the opportunity to get it done, and you make the most out of it. And so, you get the highs and the lows of professional sports, and you live it. And you walk away. He's got a ring, but he's also got the heartbreak of losing the Super Bowl. So I know there's a lot of lessons, a lot of things to unpack when you talk to somebody like Michael Orr like that.
Yes, indeed. Coming up next, really cool event that's going to be in our city at Bridgestone Arena, PBR Stampede Days. We're going to talk to a writer and Coach Justin McBride. They will be in our studios. We'll discuss that with them. Coming up next here on Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Hour number 2, Chase and Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3, The Game here on this Friday. Made it to the end of the week. Hope you're having a great day. Chase at the home studios, a little under the weather. Big Joe is at the Omni Nashville Hotel. We're going to have some folks from the Professional Bull Riders coming in just a few minutes. Looking forward to Nashville Stampede-Aids at Bridgestone Arena tonight, tomorrow, and Sunday. So it should be a fun, full weekend of bull riding with the team series. In fact, we're going to have some 4-packs of tickets to give away here in just a few minutes. So be listening. We got 3 4-packs that we will give away for tonight's event at Bridgestone Arena. So be listening for your chance to do that. Practice wrapped up for the joint practices with Seattle. We know the starters will not play for the Titans tomorrow at Nissan Stadium. That was said yesterday by Brian Callahan, and Malik Willis will get the start for the two-tone blue. So looking forward to seeing what he can do with that. Nick, what are your thoughts on Malik Willis getting the start?
I think it's honestly a good thing. I'm looking at it more of a, I guess, a developmental thing for him. I think it's more of a pride thing for Malik Willis than it is for the Titans actually utilizing him in some form or fashion. But if he's able to, develop his skills under Brian Callahan, that could be a good third option just in case of an emergency situation.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the more you can develop him and see what he can do, with this new coaching staff, I don't think it's a bad thing as they continue to, try and get the most out of him. But I was kind of wondering, I assume we're going to see Mason Rudolph at some point, but I did find it interesting that he wasn't going to be the starter. So we will, just have to watch and see. I know, when people hear that the starters aren't going to play, it's kind of like, okay, maybe I'm not going to pay that much attention. This is where I pay attention to preseason, because you find some of those roster battles at the bottom of the roster and, try and see, who's going to make it, who isn't, how close are they, and all of that. So we will see what, ends up happening with that.
Well, Brian Callahan mentioned yesterday in his press conference as well, Chase, that he's excited for guys that are on the bubble. He's excited for these preseason games because they're, like you're saying, Chase, there's some names out there that possibly could make the team. If they don't, they have a roster spot somewhere else, maybe practice squad. But Brian Callahan yesterday expressed that he's excited for this preseason game coming up Saturday.
Yes, he is. We're going to shift gears. I know the PBR is about 20 minutes out from being at the studio, so we're going to go ahead and call Chris Sanders now and get him on, because I want to get his thoughts on Calvin Ridley and all of that. So if Nick, if you don't mind, just going ahead and getting Chris on and tell him that we need to move up a little bit. I'm sure he will understand. Get his thoughts on this second preseason game and see what happens there. But I'm looking at some of these receiver battles. I've been really impressed with Jaquan Jackson. I mean, everything I have seen out of him is that, he looks pretty good. He looks the part. And I think he's got the edge on Kyrus Jackson being a draft pick. And I know Kyrus has been here, but he can return. He's made a couple plays in practice at receiver. So that, could certainly be beneficial. Let's bring in forever Titans wide receiver Chris Sanders. Chris, thanks for moving up. We've had to move things around a little bit this morning, but how are you, my friend?
I'm good, man. I feel like the Jeffersons moving on up, man. How y'all doing? Y'all doing good?
We're doing fantastic. I want to start with Calvin Ridley, and I know you've talked about this and heard about it, but basically saying that he didn't have the energy. He didn't run full speed.
You're right.
I get that it's hot. It's practice. Being in a game is going to be completely different. There's some people that are like, why are we even talking about this? It's not that big of a deal. Is it a big deal? Is it a concern?
I don't think it's a big deal, and I'm gonna tell you why. But there's a video that's kind of floating around where one of the coaches comes up to Calvin Ridley. He's kind of taking the knee after practice, and his coach says this. This is very, very important. He said, "You know what? I've been around the league for so many years, and you're the hardest working receiver I've ever seen." And the thing about it is, we got to understand it. we're human. We get tired. We get fatigued. We get mental fatigue because when you're going through the grind each and every day, you're running routes. You're running the routes consistently. You're getting pressed at the line of scrimmage. You're always in meetings. You're doing the same thing. Some days you just get tired. And we got to understand sometimes that we're human beings also. We get tired. We get fatigued. We get mental fatigue. Although I don't really look at it, as him just, trying to take a day off. It's just sometimes we actually get tired.
Right. And I get all that, but I guess you can also understand that if he says it and then the head coach is like, it's not that big of a deal. We had to cut practice short. Guys didn't have their legs. Everybody's going to go, wait, what does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, and let me explain it. When they say they don't have your legs, it's where your legs so heavy. Just imagine they've been practicing for 2.5 months before they had OTAs, they had camp, they had this. We got to understand. I know camp is not as hard as it was in 1995 when I played, but it's still grueling. Just imagine, me playing in the NFL again. I'm running routes. I'm running about maybe 50 or 60 routes of practice. I'm catching the ball. I'm catching the jugs. I'm sitting in meeting rooms. My day starts at 7 in the morning. I'm in meetings. I go to special teams meetings. I got to talk to the coach. I got to talk to media. So sometimes you just really get tired. Listen, I'm not making an excuse because I love to work hard, but there were some days where I was just mentally fatigued. I was just mentally tired of not just of football, but just the grind of football. And that people sometimes just got to understand, because here's the deal. Here's the deal, Chase. If this was a pattern of him doing that, to where the first day he came in and he was kind of loafing around and jogging and not doing the right thing, I'd be like, okay, that's a concern. But one day, I don't get it.
Chris Sanders is with us, Forever Titans wide receiver. And Brian Callahan said that the starters are not going to play in this preseason game. It's going to be Malik Willis is going to get the start. He said that as well. So what is your role, Chris? You're a starter. You're not going to play. What are you going to be doing during that game?
I think what I would do is I'll be coaching up the younger guys, and I know that sounds kind of cliche, but I don't want to be that veteran just kind of sitting on the sidelines having sunflower seeds and just kind of whatever. I would kind of be engaged, just like a guy that I used to play on a team like Justin McCarron's. Like when I would be out there starting, he'll come in, I would kind of coach him up and just kind of help him with some things. So as a veteran player and as a leader, I'm not just going to sit on the sidelines and be like, okay, well, I'm just going to chill and nothing else. I'm going to be engaged in the game. I'm going to be talking to the young receivers if they have any questions, just to help those young guys be successful, on the field.
We're talking to our good friend Chris Sanders. Chris, what's up, buddy?
How you doing, man? You doing all right?
We're plowing through this. Hey, let me ask you this.
Sure.
When you played, did you ever read the paper about you, or did you not do that?
I tried not to, because we have that attitude. We kind of like, I ain't reading the paper. Then all of a sudden, you look at the paper, and then all of a sudden you turn on your radio and you try to listen to Conway Twitty or something. And then also you turn into the sports station, and then you hear people talking about you. And the one thing that I had to do is I had to really be careful, because sometimes we as athletes, when we hear something negative about ourselves, sometimes we get sensitive and get emotional and be like, man, how dare they talk about me? So I had to be careful, because in 1998, the situation I talk about sometimes, that to where I let my emotions get to me, to where I heard somebody say something in the paper about me and I got upset. And as a professional, I can't do that. I mean, everybody has their opinion. Everybody's going to say things about me or critique me. That's great. So what I had to do is I had to tell my emotions to shut up, but also I had to close the paper and not listen to the radio.
Is it a good thing there was not Twitter and Facebook back when you played?
Oh, my gosh. They even put me on MySpace. I mean, it was that close. I mean, I was almost on MySpace. But the thing about it is, if they would have had it back then, I mean, it'd have been even worse, because, anybody can say anything and anybody can do what they want to do and hide behind their comments. So I'm glad I didn't have it back then, because I probably would have got even madder.
That's why I was curious. If you could talk to, Will Levis, some of these rookies, about what you read in the paper, I mean, would you tell them to read it and take it with a grain of salt? I mean, or just how would you approach that with these guys?
I mean, it's tough, because you want to. I mean, we as human beings, we want to please everybody. We want to make everybody, happy about our performance. But we got to understand that everybody's not going to be happy about your performance. I'm going to give you a perfect example. My first year when I came in 1995, I was balling. I was doing great. I was, leading the league in average per catch, and I was the talk of the town. Then the next year we played at Kansas City in the first game, and I dropped 1 or 2 balls, and now everybody's booing me and telling me how bad I am. So I had to understand. So I had to understand that I had to put it in perspective. Say, you know what? They're going to say some bad stuff. They love you when you do good. They hate you when you do bad. So as a young guy, this is the one thing you have to do is you have to take your emotions out of it. You got to tell your emotions to shut up, because your emotions are going to lie to you. Your emotions are going to say, they don't like me. How dare they say this? You got to say, you know what? My job is to gain the respect of my players, and that's exactly what you got to do.
I've covered enough training camps to know that if somebody's got a bad camp, it doesn't matter. If they got a great camp, it doesn't matter. And we Chase and I were talking a few weeks ago about Brock Purdy, the 49ers camp. They're like, oh, he's missing all these receivers and this and that. And they asked him, he said, hey, I'm pushing the limits here in training camp that I can't push in a game. And I want to see what I can do, what I can't do. You like that kind of attitude, Chris? If it applies to like a Will Levis, like, I know I'm not going to do this in a game, but I want to see how I can do this in practice, how I can push the boundaries right now when it doesn't really matter.
No, but see, that's a wild statement, because the thing about it is, in practice you create habits, and I think that if you create the right habit in practice, you're going to create in the game. I mean, I know what Brock Purdy's saying, but at the end of the day, you don't want to have that attitude. Oh man, I just do it in the game. I'll do what I want to. I just got to say, I got to create this habit now. So now when I get in the game, it's going to be second nature. So it's just a situation that's kind of different.
Okay, so with that said, Chris Sanders is with us.
Yes, sir.
The report on Levis, the first play of the 2-minute drill yesterday against Seattle, he throws a pick. He had 2 picks yesterday. He's been very hot and cold, but, we gauge so much on these joint practices. If he's throwing 2 interceptions, what's kind of the thought there?
Yeah, it's tough because, when you're going against your team, when you're going against 7-on-7 against your team each and every day, you kind of get an idea of what they're going to do on defense and, understand the defensive players. But now you got the Seattle Seahawks that come in. Now it's a whole different energy. It's a whole different speed. And you got to step up in the pocket and throw the ball when somebody's in your face. And if you're throwing 2 picks, against another team and you're not executing like you're supposed to, it's a little bit cause for concern, because, when the game is on the line, when the pressure's on, I expect Will Levis to make the plays. I expect my receivers to make the plays. Don't just do it when it's 7-on-7 and going against your guys. That's great because you're familiar with those guys each and every day. So now you got the Seattle Seahawks coming in. You're not familiar with them. Their front is good. Their secondary is pretty good. Now the pressure's on. How are you going to answer the bell when a lot of the pressure's on?
All right, Chris, I want to ask a question. As you being a coach, without naming names, what's the maddest you've ever gotten at one of your receivers?
Are you talking about in high school or?
No, you're coaching since you've been a football coach.
Oh, if I've ever got mad at a coach? I'm at oh yeah. I see.
What's the maddest?
See, there's 2 things that I kind of won't tolerate, and it takes a lot for me to get mad. It's if you disrespect me, number one, or you're loafing. Those are only 2 things I get. Now, if you drop a ball, I'm going to get in your face and just, challenge you to catch the football, because at the end of the day, that's still somebody's son. But there's one kid I got mad at one time is they threw him the ball and I started running to him and I said, hey, and first thing he said, he was like, what? Okay. I tore my shirt off and turned green, and I had to understand that I know he's a kid, but I got to teach him not to disrespect authority. So once I explained to him, hey, listen, I understand that you're mad that you catch the ball, but we got to settle down and let me coach you. So after that situation, it turned out better as opposed to me getting mad.
Was that Herb Street's son?
Hey, actually, Herb Street's son became a good player his senior year. He was pretty good wide receiver. There was twins. One was a cornerback and one was a wide receiver. But at the end of the day, I always tell my kids this all the time. I coached the receiver, but I love the kid. And that's what we got to understand. So when I'm yelling at them and I'm screaming at them and I want to pull all their hair out and pull their unibrow out, all that stuff, I had to understand. They understand I love the kid, but I'm coaching the receiver hard. So, and the one thing that me as coach. And the one thing I'll never do is I'll never demeanor a kid. I'll never call him out of his name. I'll never call him stupid. I'll never call him idiot, because guess what? That's still somebody's son. So when I yell at him and scream at him and demand perfection, I'm coaching the wide receiver, but I absolutely in love with the kid.
Oh, I love that. It's funny, Chris, when I played, how many times did I mumble under my breath to a coach, I want you to shut up? He never heard it, of course, to do that. But I'm telling you, man, I miss getting yelled at. I miss it. I miss all that, because when a coach did not yell at me, I know he didn't care about me. When he yelled at me, I know he cared about me.
Yeah, I mean, because the thing about it is, I love Coach Steckel. Coach Steckel is mild-mannered. I think he's a Green Beret or one of the Frogmen or one of those dudes. He never yelled at me, but I had so much respect for him that if he asked me to do something, I'm going to do it. And I always share this story with you all the time. We were playing Buffalo. It's snowing, and Buffalo's going to the playoffs, and we're not going. And I'm just kind of chilling, just trying to get by so I don't get hurt. And I'm going out there, and I'm not blocking. So I run to the sidelines, and they say, Coach wants to talk to you on the phone. He said this. He said, if you don't block, I'm going to take you out myself. So me loving my coach, me loving him, I said, you know what? I can't be selfish. I'm going to do everything I need to block. Even if it's cold, even if I want to go home, it ain't about me. It's about my coach and the team. And that's what I had to learn.
Amen to that. We always learn something when you're on the show.
I learned from y'all too, man. You guys are awesome, men.
Oh, you are too. We appreciate it as always, Chris. Thanks for moving around for us, and we'll talk next week.
Appreciate you. Love you guys. Bye-bye.
You too. Chris Sanders joining us here on the program. We'll have much more coming next. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3, the game here on this Friday. And JoJo, what's significant about playing a little Elvis Presley today?
47 years ago today, the king of rock and roll passed away down in Memphis. And for those who were alive living in Nashville at the time, I'll never forget, it was pouring down rain. They broke into the broadcast and let everybody know that Elvis had passed away. And I'll never forget watching the news that night and the next day. I mean, tens of thousands just gathered outside Graceland, and it was something to behold. I mean, I was like 8 or 9 years old. I vaguely remember it, but I do remember my mom telling me, oh, wow. So, 47 years ago, the king passed away. It's crazy. Had he lived, he'd be 89 years old today.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Frankie Valli's 90. He's still in concert. Imagine if Elvis lived. Man, there's no telling what would have happened.
No telling, indeed. But coming up this weekend at Bridgestone Arena, it's PBR Stampede Days, the team series, the third year of this. And we're excited to have in studio Coach Justin McBride and rider Cody Teal. Guys, how are you? Thanks so much for doing this.
Doing good. How are you today?
Doing fantastic. I'm sorry that we're not there with you, but I'm a little under the weather, and the last thing you guys need is to catch whatever I got. So, because it's going to be a busy weekend. But Justin, I'll start with you. We've talked a lot over the years through this. You had a great career, but what's it been like coaching these guys? And I know you got to feel good about your spot going into this weekend.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been a learning curve. I think anybody that comes out of competing in a sport and takes on a coaching role, there's definitely a learning curve there. There definitely has been for me. And, but it's been a lot of fun, man. It has really been fun when you can get, it's no different than any team sport. When you can get a group of guys all seeing the same vision and marching down the same path to achieve your goals, it's a very rewarding process.
Cody, what's this been like for you? I know you've won things individually, but now being a part of a team, what's it been like?
It's been really cool, really cool experience. Kind of like what Justin was saying, to collectively come together as a group to try to achieve a goal, in bull riding. It was definitely something like I had never gotten to experience before. So in learning how, like Justin said, it's kind of learning how to adjust in that system. But once you buy in and you get it, or for me, it was that way. Like it's really nothing like it. It's hard to think about going back to individual side of it once you've competed in a team atmosphere, from having Justin's coaching and understanding how all of that works, coming from an individual side of it to this. It's like I said, it's really hard to think about going back, and it's been something I've really enjoyed.
Justin, when you and I first started talking like 3 years ago with this team series, I mean, I'll admit, I had been to PBR events. I'd seen the individuals. I was like, how is this going to work?
Right.
I'm sure you had those thoughts too. Now seeing it in the third season and in this event coming up in Nashville, has it been a pleasant surprise to see how much it's taken off and how much the fans enjoy it?
Yeah, I think so. I had a little bit experience with team stuff from the global cups that we've done in the past, over the past handful of years. But that was just a weekend, right? You get the best guys from USA, the best guys from Brazil, Canada, Australia, Mexico, all this stuff, and you get them for a weekend. And so it's more of a rah-rah thing where a whole season you get to put a plan in place, right? And you get to see that with the guys. But when you see the fan engagement, I mean, look, I'm probably a little biased, but Nashville has the best event. We have the best of everything, the best facility, the best fans, the best city. And when you see the reaction, the engagement, the fans get into it, like in Bridgestone, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like that thing will be rocking in there. Especially when the Nashville Stampede ride. People still appreciate all the individual effort that comes through there, and you're going to hear them cheer for other teams throughout the night. But when the Stampede's turn comes up, like that place will be rocking.
Hey, Cody, this is Big Joe here. Sorry I'm not there. Just picture me as the most manly cowboy of all time. Quick question for you, Cody. This is so stupid, and I'm so sorry I've got to ask this. How do you practice I mean, you just can't go out and grab a bull and say, let's go practice a little bit. How does a bull rider practice?
Yeah, that is the unique thing about bull riding. It's not like, hitting a ball off a tee or batting practice or whatever you're doing. Like it's the real deal. When you're in the practice pen, it's a live animal, live bull. And, like when you're dealing with that, anything can happen, so it's hard to control it. Or there's just still that chance of injury or so many things that can go wrong. So it's just as serious. You have to take it just as serious practicing. But really, I mean that's the only way to. There's things you can do, with a stationary barrel or working out in the gym, preparing in that way. But to either to fully learn, whether you're beginning or a veteran, the only way to get better at it at times is just to do it, and what you still have to deal with the risk factor and all that comes along with it.
Yeah, that's a great question because we have to find bulls for our practice that what I call is the Goldilocks zone. Like they can't be too easy for these guys or it's not realistic, but they can't be so hard that it's just having to be hair on fire reacting. They've got to be able to drill the things that we're trying to get better at. So it is a very unique thing and practice is very tough to get it turned into a good practice.
Well, Justin, as the coach, let me ask this. Do you have a scouting report on these bulls? Like, hey, we got, Ace today. He's the worst bull ever. And I mean, did you have that?
Yes, you do. And it's so hard. That's where our sport differs. Like we try to take away things that have been successful in other professional sports. But at the end of the day, the X factor is a 2,000-pound bull, right? And the last time anybody has any control over the situation is the moment before the gate opens. Once the gate opens, then you're a passenger. You're reacting to what the bull does because no matter how strong, how fast, how physically fit we are, we can never control what the bull's going to do. Other sports, right? You can control your opponent. In NASCAR, you can back out of the throttle a little bit if you need to. In bull riding, you can never control that bull. So you can never be surprised. And you can never lose hope. Like these are things that you have to drill into your brain day after day, hour after hour. And you literally got to be ready for anything. Yes, you see videos of the bulls and you can have 50 videos on this bull and every video is one jump and he's to the right. And for whatever reason, if a guy beats him to the punch a little bit, they feel that they're to the left, the ground gives way a little bit, something's not right to them. They see something and everything changes. So while you can game plan, you have got to be willing and ready for anything to happen.
I love that. Cody, last week you guys rode up in Brooklyn. I was reading a few things. New York City loves cowboys. How was that event last weekend? You guys kicked ass up there. How was the whole thing overall doing this in Brooklyn, New York, of all places?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to think that riding bulls in Brooklyn. But yeah, we were just talking about that. The energy that the crowds bring in New York is bar none. It's they're really electric events, and to be able to go ride bulls in front of that, it was really special. Yeah, I had a good week and coming out of there 2-0, 2 wins. So create a little momentum coming into this weekend. So we're all looking forward to it.
Okay, so I want you both to answer this, and Justin, I'll start with you because we're about to give some tickets away to the event tonight. We got 2 4-packs of tickets we're going to give away. If somebody is whether it's team series or if they've never been to a bull riding event in their life, what can they expect and why should they check it out?
They can expect to have their minds blown, and they should come check it out because they have never experienced an event like it before, whether they've been to the Titans football games or to the Preds games. Like they're never going to experience the kind of power, excitement, adrenaline that they're going to experience at the Nashville Stampede event.
Cody, what about you?
Yeah, I think the number one thing that, watching it in person where the TV doesn't do it justice is just the animal athletes, the bulls, watching the intensity of them in person. You have a 2,000-pound animal moving and doing the things that they do. It's, I think just when you see it in person and live, it's a different experience. And I think that's the biggest thing that a lot of fans will take away from it, that's their first time watching, is just how special that those animals are.
Callers number 1 and 2, 615-737-1025. We'll hook you up with a 4-pack of tickets to see PBR Nashville Stampede Days tonight at Bridgestone Arena. They are for tonight, 615-737-1025. 1025. So I am curious too, guys, and Cody, I'll let you lead off here. It's a 3-day event. So I know you're going up against different teams throughout the days, but do you have to pace yourself knowing that it's a long weekend?
Yeah, for sure. You just have to take it one night at a time, one game at a time, and more specifically, one bull at a time. That's all you can control at the end of the day is your performance and your matchup with the bull you have. So you just have to be dialed in and in the moment, each out, and focus on the things you can control, and execute the basics to get it done. And that's the key here. And just one day at a time.
Cody, I want to ask you, growing up, I mean, when did you realize I could do this? Don't you guys grow up like riding sheep or goats or something?
Yeah, sheep.
Right?
Yeah, you start out on sheep, calves, and so on, and it's something I've done since, 5, 6, 7, and so on. But I guess, when I turned 13, 14, I realized, hey, this is what I want to do for a living. I want to make a career out of this, and it'd be my job. And that's the gears, shifted, and my focus and dedication really went to a different level. And that's when I knew this is what I want to do for a living.
Cody, what I know you don't ride bulls or anybody and don't break bones. How many bones have we broken?
Yeah, it's hard to put a number on it. From elbows, ankles, jaws, torn up knees, ruptured intestines. And those are all from me making mistakes. Like that's the price you pay when you mess up in this game. That's what can happen, and that's why it's so important to be dialed in and focused each and every time, whether it is practice or the real deal, because any of that can happen at any time. So yeah, it comes with it, and it's unfortunately, it's going to happen at some point.
Cody, when you get into the cage with the bull, how long are you in there? Like a second, 2 seconds? How long are you in there before the gate opens?
Yeah, so that's kind of, you want to be pretty swift in there. This overall, for me, you have your routine of things you do, preparation, getting your rope ready, pulling it tight, snug enough on your hand, taking your wrap. It's all pretty, once they give you the go ahead to go, it's pretty swift. I wouldn't say you're in there more than 30, 45 seconds total. And it's in your best interest to get out of there, because, the bulls themselves, they're ready. They know what's going on. So the longer you take, they get a little antsy at times, and they'll play mind games with you too. So, I mean, yeah, the quicker I can get in and out of there, the better. So.
Do you ever talk to the bull when you're in the cage? Like, hey, how are we doing today? Like, trying to soften them up?
No, I don't talk to him. You respect him. When you get around him, every bull has different personalities. They're pretty funny, actually. Just like people. Some are a little angrier than others. Some are pretty laid back and chill, but you kind of get a feel for them when you're putting your rope on them in the back pins of how they're going to act, and some of them are deceiving. They can just be back there so calm and chill. You're not going to think that there's no way they can really fire and bug, but when the gate opens, they flip a switch. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Like I said, dealing with the different personalities and reading a bull, or trying to get a read on a bull from the time you start putting your rope on them.
Justin, I'm curious, on average, how many times do you draw the same bull? Like whether it's multiple events or the same event, I mean, or is it pretty much always a different one?
Right. No, we see a lot of the same bulls throughout the course of the season. I was telling somebody this yesterday. There's a lot of really good bulls out there, but there are only so many great bulls. And those great bulls you're going to get to know, because you're going to get to see them a lot. And like, we've got a bull for Saturday night's competition that we had just a few weeks ago, and we were successful against him. One of the guys in our lineup, Alan DeSouza, rode him for a big score. And so guess what? Alan DeSouza is going to get on him again come Saturday night.
So my next part of this is, in your career, was there ever a bull that whenever you draw them, you just go, oh no, like you had a history, whether it's injury or whatever, that you would just go, oh, why do I get this one?
You know what? I think that is always a possibility for that to seep in, but during my career, I never, I respected the bulls for what they were capable of, but I never put them on a pedestal. And I do way more so now, like doing TV for the last 15 years and stuff. I would really highlight how great a bull was, but never when I was riding. And I try to coach the same way with the boys. Like, every bull is rideable, right? Even if his difficulty level is really high, we don't look at that. If we get a really difficult bull, we don't look at that as something bad that's happened to us. We look at that as an opportunity to go be 95 points. Like, why would we want to just be mediocre at this and get the bull that you're 83 on? And granted, you can win games if you're 83 points 5 times in a game, but we try to condition our minds to want to do great things, want to do hard things.
Justin, I got to ask, as a coach, do you have a pregame speech? I mean, obviously you've got some of the toughest men in the world right there next to you, but do you have a pregame? What's your approach as a coach? I mean, I just got to think, I find what you're doing fascinating. I'm sorry.
No, that's awesome, man. And I appreciate it because it is a fascinating sport to me. That's why I've been in it my entire life in some fashion. But yeah, there is pregame speeches every game, and they vary. I try and go off of what the guys need at that time. Sometimes they're a little more fiery. Sometimes they're a little more chill. Sometimes they're fun. It just kind of depends on the moment and kind of the read I get on the group. There's times where I feel like, hey, these guys, like, their hair needs to be on fire right now. We've got to wake up a little bit. And there's other times where I feel like, hey, the guys are getting a little tight. You cannot compete in this sport if you're afraid of messing up. And so we've got to back off and things have got to become a little more chill, a little funner. The environment's got to relax a little bit.
You don't call them rodeo clowns anymore. What do you call them?
We call them bullfighters. And they are, to people that don't know the ins and outs of this sport, think of them of like the Secret Service for the president. Their job is to take the shot. And people kind of laugh, oh, really? But you watch them and they are out there for every ride. Like the guys are getting on one bull a night, right? These guys are there for every single ride. They are the bravest, toughest, and I want to say a little bit crazy because they've got to be. Like, there is something in them. They're like a first responder, right? When everybody else is running away, these guys are running to it. And they're different, special dudes, man.
Well, Chase didn't want to ask us. He wants to be a rodeo clown one day. And so, Chase, there you go, buddy. Here's your opportunity.
Bullfighter.
Hey, now we do have a clown still, right? We have a guy that will interact with the audience and tell jokes and do goofy stuff during breaks. And he's the fun guy. But the dudes that are actually out there, they don't have any pain on their faces. They're pretty serious. They're the ones you don't want to mess with at the bar if you see them.
Yeah.
Are those the guys that you put in a barrel? They still do that?
Yeah, you still have that. Like we've kind of, I think there's still a barrel in the arena. We don't use it much. Yeah. We have a shark cage, they call it. And there's like even a fan experience where they can come sit in the shark cage during some of the event. And we have a camera actually placed in there. And like our funny guy, he'll do a lot of his work from up on top of the shark cage. Yeah, because he is not a bullfighter.
Well, we are looking forward to the event this weekend at Bridgestone Arena. Tonight, tomorrow, and Sunday. Guys, thanks so much for coming in today. And I know this is going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait to see how it goes, and best of luck.
Hey, thank you guys for having us in. Appreciate everything you guys do for us.
Yeah, absolutely. The PB